99.3 KLIN. The best recap of Husker sports. Husker Rewind. Welcome to the circus.
Harris went out deep right sideline. 50-50 ball. It's picked off. The black shirts with the dagger. Malcolm Hartzog with a giant pick sails the night for the Big Red. We're done. Huskers win. Call it, grandkids.
They are storming the floor. Love it. Sign your name, Fred Hoiberg. There's your signature win.
The Nebraska Cornhuskers have run the table and run it back. Back-to-back Big Ten tournament champions.
Here's Tom Stevens and Mike Melby on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Huskers inbound it with it at the top of the circle is Jamarcus, right side, three ball. Got it! Price, Sanford, career high. Huskers up by 5.
What a night for Nebraska basketball. They've improved to 4-0 at the Pentagon in Sioux Falls and undefeated at the Pentagon, as far as I know. I mean, they have been amazing in that building.
St. Mary's the other year.
Oh, did they get beat? Oh, that's right. They did get beat. I seem to neglect that one. They did beat Oregon State, Oklahoma State, lost to St. Mary's at the Pentagon. That was a really good basketball team. This one might be better than that one.
The game on Saturday was one of the best college basketball games, regardless of teams, that I have seen played in years. Like, it was amazing. That was an NCAA championship game. That should have that game is two teams with a lot of dudes. And the dudes came to play, including some that you didn't realize were dudes. Cale Jacobson goes for 10. I wish I had a video of me watching the game in my basement with like a caption of the game as it's happening. Like, I was losing my mind.
That was fun. That was so much fun. Nebraska wins, beats Oklahoma. Tried to give it away a little bit at the end, but it wouldn't be fun if they didn't. 105-99. Oklahoma, an NCAA tournament team from last year. Nebraska started down 10-0. They went on an 8-0 run. It was at one point 25-23. Then Oklahoma runs out to a 16-point lead.
44-28.
Nebraska cuts it to 7 at halftime. And then they open up the 11-point lead in the second half, and then kind of a nail-biter at the end. Sam Hoiberg steps up, hits 4 big free throws at the end. But what can you say about Price Sanford? I mean, he played phenomenal last night. 28 points, a career high. This is Sanford just talking about the environment that we saw last night at the Pentagon.
I was talking to Pentagon representative out here, and he was saying that's the best environment he's heard in the 100 games that have been here. And I'd say the same thing. It was just a different environment, and that was a huge part of the win. So.
And let me build on that real quick. You talk about the conditioning and all. The crowd had a lot to do with that. When you got 99% of the fan base out there cheering you on. I mean, that's Price 100% right. That was a huge factor in this win, but they almost willed us to keep going. And I kept asking Price, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah, leave me in, coach." And Rink, same thing. So we're going to ride them. And again, I think our fans had a huge part in winning the conditioning battle tonight.
They seem like the better conditioned team at the end. Yeah, Oklahoma is probably the more athletic team for sure, but Nebraska obviously was willed to win that thing by the crowd at the Pentagon, which is always good. It shows up in droves and sells out every single year that Nebraska plays there. I think it was 4,000. I think it can only hold 4,000. It felt like a bigger arena than that just because of the noise. It reminds me a little bit of the Nebraska women playing at the Coliseum back in the day. The noise is tremendous in that building.
3,463 were in attendance.
Okay. Small building, but the noise was incredible. And as Hoiberg said, they kind of willed that team to get over the hump, being down 16. And then Jamarcus Lawrence, one of the big players I thought in the second half, it really didn't play a good first half at all. And
he had one one foul is a foul, and then he had just a ticky-tack bad call.
Yeah.
And it put him on the bench for the majority of the first half. He only plays like 4 or 5 minutes.
And Fred doesn't play it. He won't play a guy who has more than 2 fouls or 2 fouls.
He came back in a little bit near the end of the first half, but he only played like 4 or 5 minutes in that first half.
But there was a steal. He gets a layup, and that just seemed to ignite him. He had a 3-pointer that I thought was kind of a questionable shot by Jamarcus, but he made it. Then he made another one, 14 points in the second half. But there were so many guys that you could point to as being heroes. Obviously, Rink, for me, was the hero, along with Sanford. Rink had 26. Sanford had 28, and 7 assists, by the way, for Sanford.
All in the first half.
But it all seems to happen with Rink. I mean, you can give him all the credit, and it doesn't seem like enough. I mean, he can be on the floor, and that almost seems like enough for Nebraska, just his calming influence. There's something about Rink that just makes this team better. And by the way, he hit 5 of 7 threes. A few of them were crazy, were just nuts.
No, there was one that I'm fine with him shooting wherever. I mean, he's got a little K-say to him. The one that he took in the second half was easily 25 feet.
Oh.
And he just caught it, turned, squared, shot. Yep. Like he didn't think about it. It's because he's probably practiced that shot.
And he was in heat check
times.
mode. I think he was in the heat. I mean, that's
off a down screen on a curl. It's Bryce Sanford out the mash, puts it up. Got it. Rico! Huskers with their biggest lead of the night. In Sioux Falls, 75-70 on Mass 3.
And they were many of those were a full 3 feet behind the 3-point line. It would have been behind the NBA line.
Well, the NBA line was there.
Yeah.
And he was 3 feet behind it.
Yeah. So they play did they play NBA games there?
Yeah, they have.
It's probably G League stuff.
Well, G League there's a G League team in Sioux Falls.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. They used to play at the Sioux Falls Arena where their hockey team used to play. So it was always kind of interesting. Because they have to completely tear down everything. And the bleachers that I stood on that were folded up where press row was for
What you called hockey?
games.
Okay.
Yeah.
You called hockey games in that arena?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not in this arena, but in the old Sioux Falls arena, which is attached to the Sheraton and whatever. But they would the bleachers that would get folded up. I would then stand on the top of the folded up bleachers with a press table, like they had little brackets, and I'd set my equipment up and crawl underneath with all the gook and nastiness to find the little phone plug.
Sure, I've been in that arena at a different place.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when the basketball team would play, they would take all the boards down, all the glass down, and they'd roll the bleachers out, and then they'd play G League basketball.
Yeah. The head coach of Oklahoma, by the way, is Porter Moser, who's known for taking Loyola of Chicago to the Final Four. I think it was back in 2021 with Sister Jean. Something like no, it was 2018. I think it was before that. But played basketball at Creighton. 2023 is when they went to the Final Four. No, wait a minute. When was it? 2018. It was 2018. That Loyola went to the Final Four. Sister Jean. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but he's taken over Oklahoma. Got to the NCAA tournament last year, and this team looks like an NCAA tournament team as well. They beat Wisconsin. Their big win in the preseason was Wisconsin. Nebraska's big win in the preseason was BYU. But Nigel Pack, I know he's only 6 feet tall. He looks like an NBA player to me.
So does Xavier Brown. I mean, you got to understand, those two are going to play professionally and make a lot of money and play for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, that he's got two guys that will start on any team in the NCAA.
Nigel Pack has already been in the Final Four, played the Final Four when he was with Miami.
Yep.
Played at Kansas State, started out his career, was all league in that conference, then went to Miami because of NIL. That's where we are. You don't stay at one school anymore. But he had 27 points. He was ridiculous. He seemed unguardable. And I'm not sure if I have one criticism from Nebraska's performance last night, it was the defense. I just would have gotten in Nigel. I would have tell me, from Hoosiers, tell me what he's chewing. Tell me what bubble gum he is chewing, because they were not on him. I would have been on him even when he didn't have the ball, even when he was 30 feet from the hole, because he was making shots that were just ridiculous, that were step backs.
That's what I mean. I thought they covered him relatively well. He just made
Fred
plays.
didn't think so. At time, he thought the defensive energy was lacking. He liked the offensive energy. But it's one of those things that, if you're going to get picky, you could go down the line of players that played well in that ball game. Obviously, Sanford was 1. Rink was 2. I thought that Jamarcus Lawrence was 3. Burke maybe had his best game as a Husker. And then the guy that we're probably not going to talk enough about is Cale Jacobson. This is Hoiberg talking about Cale.
Yeah, so it was I can't remember what the hell he asked. About Cale, yeah. And Cale just, but he just kept going. He got to the basket. He had a big and one. He drew a couple fouls. He just plays with so much poise. That's the beauty of Cale. He just, he can play any position on the floor, and it's just his overall basketball IQ is as good as anybody on our team.
Yeah, I thought Cale, he played, and he has been playing since the Crown, I think, better and better and better. He still maybe lacks a little bit of confidence with his shot, but when he sees one go in, he was able to take that incredible pass by Rink and make that 3. He played at a really high level and did it in all phases of the game, I thought, last night.
Cale Jacobson, watching him through the Crown last year, and now the difference between him getting 5 minutes at the end of a blowout earlier in the season last year with the way he played versus the way that he learned to get the confidence that he can play at this level. I think that's kind of what was missing. He seemed timid all the time going up until the Crown. And even the first half of the first game that he played in the Crown, I was like, man, I wish he would just go. Like, just go, dude. Yeah. And I'm yelling at the TV at him, just go. What do you do? Just go.
Now, if he plays like he did in Vegas the whole year, they're probably a tournament team.
Well, and the funny thing is, the second half of that game, he went one time, and then all of a sudden he had a little bit better step, and then he had a better you watch like that coast to coast yesterday. I mean, that's stuff
fantastic.
Okay. Yeah. he's just going now.
He's a vital part of this team, and he's probably making next to nothing via NIL.
By the way, and I get it, we're 3-4 games in, but Nebraska, your leading scorer didn't score and only played 7 points, and you still played that well.
Brandon Frager did not score in this game. In fact, he's just, I think he's going to be fine. He's a freshman. We're going to get, I think, as we have 22-point nights, and we're going to get 0 from Brandon Frager because he's a freshman. There's a learning curve. I don't care that he redshirted last year. There's going to be a learning curve, and he didn't play a ton of minutes last night.
7.
No.
Yeah. And the flip side is, you had Cale playing to the level that he did, Sam playing to the level that he did, that I think kept him, and Burke as well, that kept him off the floor a little bit. But at the end of the day, hey, you know what? The other thing you're talking about, he's a freshman. He redshirted last year. By the way, he reclassified. He's only 18. He should have graduated high school in May of 2025. He didn't. Okay, so think about that. And so he goes scoreless. I'm predicting the next game he's going to go off for 20.
He's the most athletic player, I think, on the team. He's going to be valuable. He's especially against teams. I thought he would be really valuable last night against Oklahoma, a really athletic team. But there's a learning curve, and it's going to take a while, I think, for him to be comfortable in that type of setting. And that setting was spectacular against a big-time program in Oklahoma. Obviously, we mentioned Oklahoma jumped out to a 10-0 lead. They were up 16 in the first half. This is Fred Hoiberg talking about the comeback.
We got down 16, I think. We dug ourselves that hole in the first half, and then we started finding the mismatch. We slowed down. We, their switching bothered us early in the half, but once we, got the ball to the right guy and took our time and got the ball inside, we started scoring, and that got us a little rhythm. And that's what was able to cut it to striking distance to get it to 7 before half, and then dug ourselves a little bit of a hole. I think got back down double digits, and then we went on an unbelievable run. And a big thing I think with that is we started getting deflections. We started getting our hands on balls, and that led to some runouts and some transition shots. And then these two guys were unbelievable. And then I give Jamarcus a lot of credit. He had a really tough first half, and not even a great first 5 minutes. And then he caught fire, and another guy that I thought was a huge factor in that game was Kale. I thought Kale was unbelievable in just doing a little bit of everything for us. So just guys found a way. It was great resiliency by him. Now we'll see what we're made of. We have a big emotional win like this. We can't be satisfied. We've got to bounce back. You guys are going to write good things about him, hopefully. You certainly write bad things about him when things don't go well. So, things went well for us. And, now we got to find a way not to listen to it and bounce back with a great day of practice on Monday.
We've seen Nebraska play great before. This is as good of a performance I've seen on a neutral floor, even though it was full of Nebraska fans. And the stats pointed out. I mean, and they played against a team that didn't have an off night. They had a very on night. This was two teams playing great basketball. Oklahoma shot 52% from the field, 38% from three. Nebraska, 58% from the field and 56% from three. I don't remember a better shooting performance, especially when you talk about how many different guys were able to score and shoot at such a high level.
They're 9 of 14 from three in the second half. It was insane.
67% from the field.
If you listen to that clip back, I'm not going to have you play it again, but Fred makes the comment, you guys are going to write nice things about them, because you certainly don't write nice things about them when we don't play well. I love that shot at the media, because that's what I thought it was. And I remember listening to it live, and I was like,
and that's not typical of
awesome.
Fred. He usually doesn't say something like that.
Somebody wrote something when we didn't play well, and I'm assuming it was probably during our 6-game losing stretch last year. But I have a feeling, and maybe it's one of the newer beat writers or columnists for either OWH or LJS, or Husker 24/7, whatever. But I wonder if it's one of the newer guys that maybe was a little bit more critical than they needed to be. But for a head coach to say, because you certainly write bad things,
and it's not like Fred
well.
isn't critical of his own team, because he is.
Well, he's just brutally honest. Hey, tonight we didn't have it. We didn't play well. That's on me. That's the first thing he says. If he says we didn't play well, he says that's on me.
Yeah, it's like dad saying, I can be critical of my kids, but you can't.
Yeah.
And this is him responding to Nebraska, because Rink had answered the question about playing with pace and purpose, and Hoiberg kind of cut in.
I'll translate for Rank. Our pace and purpose sucked last week. So, to find a way to get it back tonight. Yeah, and that's what you want from your team. We had a long film session and cleanup after the Maryland Eastern Shore game. And, I thought our guys carried that over to the floor. And that's what you look for as a coaching staff is, how your guys do when they come out of the film room. And, to be able to carry that over into this game. And we needed every one of those points. Obviously, we played a hot team tonight. And I thought our pace and purpose and screening and everything that we did was off the charts. And again, we're going to need that. That can't be a one-time thing. We got to find a way to, bottle that up and go out and replicate it again on Thursday.
So that was fun. And by the way, Thursday is New Mexico, the Hall of Fame Classic in Kansas City. Then they'll play the winner of, I believe it's Ole Miss and Kansas State in the Hall of Fame Classic. It's a Thursday, Friday thing.
Yeah, Mississippi State and K-State.
Oh, is that Mississippi State? Okay. I didn't have it right in front of me. But yeah, so there you go. I don't know. New Mexico, I think, lost last night to New Mexico State. So they're a team that's probably just okay. And then I would assume Kansas State, Ole Miss are what they usually are. Pretty solid.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I firmly believe K-State is going to be solid.
So,
we'll see.
We'll see. But that was fun. I enjoyed that. I like it when Nebraska plays good basketball. I like it when the ball goes in the hole. It's much more fun to watch.
Isn't it, though?
It is so much more fun to watch. I think this team is going to be fun to watch all year long as well. Let's get the break. Come back with more Jack Mitchell. That name sounds familiar. He's on the station every day. Jack and Friends, and, of course, Drive Time Lincoln. We'll talk to Jack some hoops, little hoops, and some football talk coming up.
It's being called the Golden Bonanza Sweepstakes. Thanks to our
40, 35, 30, 25, 15. He's gone. Touchdown. Touchdown. Touchdown.
Husker Rewind with Mike Melby and Tom Stevens on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Efforting Jack Mitchell. I texted him, so he'll call us back at some point. 479-1400. In case you don't know, Jack, of course, he does know because he works here and he does the morning show, Jack and Friends, and Drive Time Lincoln as well. But we'll talk a little hoops with Jack and some Husker football as well. I want to get to this conversation about Emmett Johnson because there hadn't been a lot of talk going into the season about him even being all conference, first, second, or third. We had heard comments about, Matt Rule saying that he was comfortable with the running back position, but nobody said that Emmett Johnson could be an all conference running back, and he's going to be first team all league.
But the funny thing is, if you go back to the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, the conversation had nothing to do with EJ. It had to do with who in the world is RB2. Like,
right.
We know Emmett's good.
Yeah, we know Emmett's good.
We need an RB2. That was all we talked about.
And I thought it was a little crazy when you had Dana Holgerson say, hey, he's Christian McCaffrey. And I thought, come on. Nobody is Christian McCaffrey except for Christian McCaffrey. That's a little silly. And then you watch him play and you think, that's not that far-fetched, especially if you watch the UCLA game. Because Christian McCaffrey, when he stays healthy in the NFL, is always like top 5 receiver, top 5 running back, per play. He's always incredible. His problem is he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. Emmett Johnson hasn't had that problem. He's getting all these carries, ridiculous amounts of carries, and he's staying healthy, and he is just a weapon. In fact, he is the weapon to the point where you think about, is he a Heisman candidate? Well, that's crazy. Maybe he's all league. Is he a Heisman candidate? This is Matt Rule.
I personally believe Emmett Johnson should be in New York for I think he should be a Heisman candidate. I think he should be a Doak Walker finalist, if not winner. And I think what he's doing is, fantastic. I hope people appreciate seeing him. He's a first-team All-American. And I don't know who's the last person that was first-team All-American. It was since 2011, Levante David. And so, just a couple highlights because hopefully our social media people will mash it up and they can make a go. But, he leads the nation in yards from scrimmage with 1,431 yards from scrimmage in 10 games. Ranks second in the FBS in total rushing yards and 5th in yards per game. Leads the nation by accounting for 37% of his team's total yards. Among power conference players, he's number 1 at 37.1. Jeremiah Love, another great player at Notre Dame, is second at 29.6. Emmett is one of only 3 players in the FBS with at least 10 rushing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns. Only running back in power conference play with 4 100-yard rushing games in conference play. 2 pages, that's how good he is.
So you get the idea. He goes on basically trying to promote Emmett because he's not getting a lot of attention. I don't know if anybody who's saying Emmett's going to win the Heisman or going to be in New York. But this is a good time to bring in Jack Mitchell of Drive Time Lincoln in the afternoon. Of course, Jack and Friends weekday mornings on 1400 KLIN and 99.3. Do you think he should be a Heisman candidate, Jack?
Well, first of all, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you beautifully. You sound fantastic.
Good. A Heisman can't. I don't know. Should he be or will he be? The answer is probably no to all of the above. But I don't think the purpose of that clip that you played there was to try and actually convert him to being in the Heisman race. So I thought it made a lot of sense to do it at that moment. But no, the answer is, especially, you had a couple of guys have really big days while he was sitting on the bench yesterday. And
what about All-American? We think he'll be first team All Big Ten. What about an All-American? Nebraska hasn't had an All-American since Levante David in 2011, I believe.
Well, Jeremiah Love, because he plays for Notre Dame and is incredibly solid and probably has been solid for longer than Emmett Johnson has, is always going to get the nod over him.
Yeah.
Whether he gets that second spot, we'll see. There are a couple of other possibilities there, but that'll probably honestly depend on the next few games, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Let's switch to college basketball. I think you saw it. Nebraska wins 105-99 over Oklahoma. I didn't see it coming in that fashion. I thought they could beat Oklahoma. I didn't think they'd score 105 points, especially against an athletic defense like Oklahoma. What'd you think?
Well, first of all, I was there.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was there. I drove up and back yesterday, or went with some friends. Went up and back. I mean, listen, I think this offense is absolutely capable of scoring. I mean, I'm not surprised at their capability to score that amount of points, but it's just going to be mixed in with some games where they're not really close to that. And so much of this is going to depend on if they're hitting threes at a ridiculous pace. And from about 3 minutes left in the second half, or 4 minutes, or excuse me, in the first half, throughout the rest of the game, they were hitting threes at an unbelievable pace. And if they do that, they can beat anyone. But problem is going to be that they can't. It's not going to happen every single night. And we saw it against. Let's see, what was that? A couple of nights ago, I was at the game, Maryland Eastern Shore, and they struggled for three in that game. And that was not a team that was talented enough to beat them anyway. But of course, if that's a Wisconsin or a Michigan or even a Maryland or a Rutgers, they're going to win that game. So no, I'm not. I mean, this offense. It was a lot. That seemed like a little bit more than you probably would have guessed. But no, this offense is going to put up big numbers when they're going to do that.
It reminded me, Jack Mitchell joining us on the Hunt Irrigation Talk and Text line, by the way. It reminded me of the 1991 first-round game in the Big 8 tournament against Oklahoma. Danny Nee and Billy Tubbs. Just an absolute wild and crazy game. 118, 115, 115, 113, something like that. Nebraska wins in overtime. That game was ugly, as Tom and I were talking earlier. He reminded me we had like 9 people foul out. Regardless, it was fun basketball. You were there. Talk to me about that atmosphere being there inside of the Pentagon.
Well, first of all, I put a tweet up about, 3 minutes left in the first half where I screenshotted. I didn't pick that game. I picked a regular season game the year in 1990, so it would have been the year before, where Nebraska won. I believe it was 110-99, if I remember the score right. And I was like, I think I'm getting 1990 vibes from this one, when Nebraska went to Norman and they did a Sports Illustrated piece on the game a week later. But same thing, basically, as you were talking about. In terms of the atmosphere, I don't know. I got to wait a few weeks because I don't want to overstate it and like have the recency bias thing going on. But that was one of my favorite sporting events I've ever been to.
Wow.
If I'm being completely honest. It was essentially a the way I described it was as a high school game between bitter rivals, where only one team's fans were there, and then on top of that, add a whole lot of adult beverages and a bandbox of 3,000 people can sit in there.
3,463, if I remember right.
And then Nebraska having one of the most incredible shooting halves I've ever seen in the second half, and just a fan base that is super hungry. I don't know. Like I said, I got to wait a little while before I really put it in context, but I've never been there before, and I will, if I have the ability to go any other time they play, I'll try and get there.
January 26, 1991. It was the 90-91 season. Nebraska won 11, Oklahoma 99. Nebraska came in ranked number 14. Oklahoma at home was number 13.
Yep, that was the game. I remember I couldn't believe it. All 5 starters were in double figures. I listened to it on the radio. It wasn't on TV, at least TV that I could get. And I posted it, in the first half. And Oklahoma ended up having 99. If Nebraska had 6 points, I would have nailed the
no kidding.
I would have nailed their score as well.
Stop at the casino on the way home.
There you go. Jack Mitchell of Drive Time Lincoln, of course. Jack and Friends in the morning right here on 1400 KLIN. Rick Mask is incredible. He seems to play better. Like, he didn't play well against Eastern Shore. A lot of guys didn't play well in that game. But it feels like the bigger the game, the better performance you get from him. 5 of 7 from 3, 26 points, and every one of them seemed to be just huge. Every shot seemed to be huge in that game. I can see why you called it one of your best experiences as far as sporting events concerned. But Rink, in particular, just his very presence on the floor makes this team better, don't you think?
Yeah, I think we underestimate what a headache he is for the opposition between his size and his shooting and his passing. I mean, goodness sakes, I about stroked out when he threw the behind the back pass to Cale Jacobs.
Yes.
3 in that game. But I don't think we realized. I mean, great, he's your guy, right? You're cheering for him. He's really, really good. I don't think we realize what a nightmare he is to plan for defensively. He is. Yeah, I mean, without him, none of this works. And it's crazy, right? Because the last time we saw him before a few weeks ago was at that Texas A&M NCAA tournament game. And you remember this. Like, Tom, you were there, I think, right?
Yeah.
He couldn't jump. He basically didn't jump that entire night or the end of the season. So just to have the patience to get through that surgery, recover, come in now. Like if they do incredibly well this season, he's going to be kind of the conduit to the whole thing, I think.
Looking ahead, just the next couple of games, big tournament down in Kansas City Thursday and Friday. They have New Mexico Thursday, the winner of K-State, Mississippi State Friday. Thoughts on these next two games for Husker Hoops?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a ton about these teams. I think I saw, at least when I looked last week, that Mississippi State was the best team in kind of like the KenPom ratings of all of them. That may have changed since I last looked. But man, if you can stack these wins, you don't get a ton of opportunities if you're Nebraska in the non-con to get wins against other Power 4 teams. And if you could get those two, if you get two of them this weekend, it's weird because it's happening in November, but if that game happened in March and you got that win, it would be massive, right? And so it may not quite have the same gravity because there's a little bit more just because it's late, but those are going to be huge games if Nebraska, which it seems like they always are, guys. Like, when have they been? Very rarely have they been very clearly into the tournament. Only a couple of times. It's always like, oh man, it's really close. These are the games that are going to put them on one side of that bubble or the not.
Jack Mitchell of Jack and Friends. Switch back here to football. Nebraska's 7-3, obviously. Still without a win over a top 25 opponent, but will definitely take 7-3 in year 3 with Matt Rule. But how would you grade year 3 overall for Rule?
I mean, it's still incomplete because I got to say, that Iowa game to me is huge, right? If they go 2-0, it's going to be maybe an A-, B+, A-, right? In that whole thing. They go 0-2, it's a whole lot different because I think you clinched improvement from last year. These next two games are going to tell us if it's just a small step forward or like a significant step forward. So it's tough right now, but if they can get these two, or one of two, and we can just kind of discuss down the road exactly what that means if you get one but not the other, right? With the issues that you're having with the backup quarterback in those situations, going on the road against Penn State, and they've obviously got a really unique situation. But man, if you can get both of those with a backup quarterback, I would be hard pressed for anyone to come to me and be like, wow, things aren't working out that well right now. I don't think I'll hear that at this point.
Well, bigger challenge, Penn State on the road, knowing that they played really well, beat Michigan State, 28-10, whatever it was, handily, or Iowa at home. I think Iowa's the better football team, but Penn State on the road or Iowa at home?
100% Iowa. 100. Penn State did go in there and beat Michigan State, finally got a win, and I think technically they're still eligible for a bowl, so they might have a little bit of motivation. But guys, as Nebraska fans, we've been in these situations before, right? Where you're kind of playing out the string and your eyes are on the future. It's not going to be, it'll be a night game at Penn State. Yes, it is not going to be an incredibly electric environment. But Iowa and Nebraska have finally gotten to the level where I think they are very clearly we can say it, right? That's a rivalry. After last year, and the non-handshake gate and everything that went with that. And look, they lost to Oregon and USC, played them both really well as well. They're clearly the better team, and yeah, it's at home, but Nebraska hasn't beat them at home, right? It's been a long time since Nebraska's beaten them in Lincoln. So yeah, I think it's really clearly the Iowa game is the more difficult of the two.
And Jack, I'm going to throw something out here. Breaking news. Tom and I like to break news. We also fix it though, so don't worry. We have duct tape, some baling wire, and some Elmer's glue. At any rate, Nebraska's 2026 recruiting class has shrunk by one. Leon Noyle Jr. From, I believe, New Orleans has decommitted and committed to Mississippi State. Did you even know he was committed?
I didn't
since
know
the summer. Do you believe this is probably NIL related?
I've never heard that name in my life.
There you go.
I have no idea. I don't know who that is.
This seems like more of an NIL year. I think last I checked, Nebraska was like 18th in the Big Ten. I mean,
I have no idea
for the 2026 class.
Guys, I peaked out on recruiting in the Bill Callahan years.
Me too.
Like I was the guy. I was up early on signing day and making sure the faxes were in. I don't know if it's just getting older or having, your heart broken a few times or seeing people not pan out, but I just don't. Until I see them on the field, I don't pay a whole lot of attention at this point.
Well, and it's impossible to grade them anymore because it seems like half of the class is recruits or 3 stars or 4, whatever they might be, and the other half is from the transfer portal. And I'm not sure which is more important. It seems like they're going the way of development as far as the high school kids are concerned, and then just immediate impact guys like free agents through the transfer portal. So you just don't know.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm not super helpful on that one. I'm not sure what happened. I mean, who knows? Could have been a million things that happened with that, but they've been doing well. They've been doing well with the recruiting, so I'm not super concerned.
Hey, we love having you on. We appreciate you doing this. Congratulations on going to the game. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. I would recommend if they play there again, get yourself tickets and get down there.
All right. Good stuff, Jack. We'll listen in tomorrow. See what you got.
Thanks, Tom.
There you go.
Thanks, Jack.
Mitchell of Jack and Friends at Drive Time Lincoln, and occasionally appears on this show, Husker Rewind.
And the best part of his answer, I'll be honest, I've never heard that name before in my life. That was exactly what I thought when I read it. I'm
with him. I think it was at an all-time high for me under Bill Callahan.
When Andres Pete did not commit to Bo Pelini, I was done. That was it for me.
Yeah, I was big time into recruiting. I mean, back in the day when you would have to go
and watch the breakdown.
Right. I would watch the breakdown. I would get all the magazines and recruiting. I remember when Steve Taylor committed to Nebraska. I was so freaking crazy. And Tommy Frazier, remember those things because that's when it actually seemed to matter more. Now you just don't know what you're getting. I don't know. Probably didn't know what you're getting then either, but it was fun.
Coach Osborne knew.
Yeah. Let's get to break. Come back with more. Tom Stevens, Mike Melby, Husker Rewind.
This holiday season, come together at Greenfield's Cafe where every meal
kapoom, and their body bumping and away.
Husker Rewind with Mike Melby and Tom Stevens on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back. I got one for you, time. As you know, I my musical background, a lot of these songs I kind of threw out there as I thought they might be good bump music.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually the instrumental only version from
nice.
a song called "Give Me That Boom" from a band called Skindred. That's
what was going to be my guess. Skindred.
Yeah, I figured. I mean, it's like it's your second favorite band of all time behind Tom Petty, right?
Do you ever play an instrument?
I played numerous instruments, all of them very poorly.
Oh, nice.
Tried guitar. I actually got the riff to Wash It All Away from Five Finger Death Punch Down on guitar shortly after I got divorced. And then life happened. I got really busy working about 4 different jobs, and I kind of quit playing and just never got back into it.
I always wanted to play the guitar. It's just cool to say you play the guitar, but it takes a lot of effort. And I just, I never did that.
A good friend of mine has got like an 8-piece drum set that he's willing to sell me for giving me a like 30-pack of Busch Light to take it off his hands.
There you go.
And I'm like looking at Tracy and she goes, yeah, whatever.
I think that's every parent's nightmare, though, to have a kid that plays the drums.
Either that or girlfriend's nightmare that your boyfriend's going to be in the garage.
Either one. Time to get to the Big Ten Blitz.
The Big Ten Blitz. The Big Ten Blitz. The Big Ten Blitz. The Big Ten Blitz.
Nico Iamaleava did not play.
Ooh.
He suffered a concussion in the game against Nebraska.
Which made me wonder, did he play with a concussion?
I think he did, because there was a time in the second half where the way he got up, I questioned, I was like, man, that didn't look good. And at any rate, that's kind
Remember
of
back in the day when we'd get a concussion? Because I'm sure we did.
Oh, I guarantee
playing
you.
Pee Wee football, and they just used to describe it as, hey, you got your bell rung, go back in there.
Yeah. Here's some smelling salts. Wake up. Go run the next play.
Exactly.
Anyway, Ohio State rolled 48-10 over the Nico-free UCLA Bruins. Luke Duncan, not bad, filling in 16 of 23, 154. Julian Sayin, 23 out of 31 for the Buckeyes, 184 yards, 112 on the ground from Bo Jackson. He evidently had another year of eligibility and decided to go play for the Buckeyes. Yeah, just kind of one of those games that you fully expected to play out that way, and it did. UCLA hosts Washington next Saturday. Ohio State hosts Rutgers next
Julian
Saturday.
Sayin is one of those Heisman candidates. I would put, I know the pub about it, because he was a 5-star coming out of high school. I think he went to Alabama. Then he, after his first year, said, I'm not playing. I'm not starting. I think I'll go to Ohio State. And he's having a great year. Because he plays for Ohio State, he's now a Heisman candidate, but I don't know why that makes him ahead of Emmett. But Emmett just doesn't have the publicity machine behind him. And they're not the number 1 team in the country.
True.
Last time I checked. Oregon isn't either. They're number 7, but they beat Minnesota no problem, 42-13 to stay on track for the college football playoff. Dante Moore, their quarterback, 2 TDs. Jordan Davison also ran for 2 in the rout Friday night. Moore actually completed 90% of his passes. That's a record for an Oregon quarterback. Dante Moore is really good. He once played for UCLA, 27 of 30 in that game. Oregon held Minnesota to 62 yards rushing, 200 total yards. Oregon is very good. Are they a playoff team? I don't know. We'll find out in a couple of weeks. Oregon actually could find out next week. They play USC.
Well, exactly. And the scuttlebutt I've heard, they're talking, does the Big Ten only get 2 teams in the playoff if USC knocks off Oregon?
That seems like a playoff eliminator for USC, but maybe not Oregon. I don't know. Next week, Minnesota has Northwestern. Northwestern, if they win that, they're bowl eligible.
So this bugs me. I saw the tweets all day, and it was literally what they were saying on ESPN, right, which is the SEC network, basically. Oh, my goodness. Indiana's a fraud. They're barely beating Wisconsin, even at the end of the game. They're a total fraud.
Yes.
Wisconsin is horrible. Texas A&M, South Carolina. Oh, my goodness, the SEC is so deep. Oh, my goodness, look at this. 3-6 South Carolina putting up the fight. But lo and behold, sorry, those Aggies, they come back, they win. They're the greatest team ever.
Right. Kurt Signetti, I don't care. Indiana's for real. And
I know, but it's just ESPN. Like if it's an SEC team.
I know. And I've heard him bash Indiana throughout the years.
Oh, yeah. Well, if Indiana switched conferences, I can promise you they would be the latest toast to the town. Elsewhere, you mentioned USC and Oregon next weekend. Number 17, USC at home knocks off number 21, Iowa 26-21. Whale of a game. Mark Gronowski has now run for a touchdown, I believe, in every single game this year, all 10 of them. The mood at the Coliseum was kind of dark at halftime. They were down 11 points, were the Trojans, and it was nonstop rain. It was awesome. However, Mekhi Lemon made 10 catches for 153 yards in a second-half touchdown, and USC scored 19 straight points to keep their college football playoff hopes alive with that 26-21 victory.
Iowa almost never loses when they're up 14-0.
No, they do not. And Jordan Mailata, I'll tell you what, the dude can play, and he delivered when he needed to, and USC picks up the win. It's going to be interesting next week as they travel to Oregon. Iowa hosts Michigan State.
Yeah, I think Iowa's still a great football team, but they've lost some games that they don't normally lose in the manner that they've lost them.
Yeah.
Indiana over Wisconsin, 31-7. You mentioned it was close for a while, 10-7 at half. Oh, is Indiana any good? Apparently they are. Fernando Mendoza threw for 305 yards, 3 TDs, 3 of his 4 in the second half, completed 91% of his passes. He's another Heisman candidate that you should look out for. Indiana, as we mentioned, barely leading at halftime, then blows teams away. They tend to do that a lot. It seems like they're in close games for the first or second quarter, then they handily win the game, or they have to come back at the end like they did against Penn State. Nonetheless, they are 11-0. They've never done that before. First time ever for an Indiana program. Wisconsin at Illinois next week. They're officially eliminated from bowl eligibility, and Indiana is at Purdue. So they're in the college football playoff.
They are. Yeah. Nebraska's next opponent, the Penn State Nittany Lions, get their first Big Ten win. They started 0-6, 4-6 overall now. They knock off Michigan State at Sparty, up in East Lansing, 28-10. Ethan Grunkmeyer threw 2 touchdown passes to Devontae Ross. Katron Allen ran for 181 yards. He had a run in the second half that was the Tommy Frazier run against Florida. He just didn't score, and he didn't break the last tackle. He shed like 7 guys. I'm worried, man. Penn State, they've got some confidence now.
They look good.
They looked a lot better. For the game, Grunkmeyer, 8 of 13, 127. Grunkmeyer sealed the win with a 4-yard touchdown pass to Devontae Ross.
The 240 yards rushing really concerns me.
Oh, yeah.
As a Nebraska fan going in there.
How do we shore that up? I don't know.
Penn
State, I think they opened at a 7.5 point favorite late yesterday. I heard the point spread went all the way up to 10 and now has settled at about 8.5. We'll see where it is here in a little bit when we do picks of density.
I asked Jack the question, tougher game for Nebraska, Penn State on the road at Penn State, who was a preseason national champion favorite. Of course, they lost Drew Aller, their quarterback, or Iowa at home. And I thought it might be close, but for him, it wasn't. For you, is it Iowa like Jack? Jack's
tougher for Nebraska to win.
Yes. You think by far, though? He said by far, Iowa's going to be the tougher game to win. I'm not sure.
I think at Penn State is. I know it's not going to be as amped up and juiced up of an atmosphere, but it will be. It's senior night.
And they can still make a bowl game.
They can still make a bowl game. Yeah. So,
and if they beat Nebraska, they're going to beat Rutgers to end the season. They'll make a bowl game.
Yeah. So and Nebraska out at Penn State next week. Michigan State visits Iowa next Saturday.
All right. Illinois over Maryland, 24-6. Kind of a boring game. Luke Altmaier was really good, though. Threw for 172, 2 TDs. Illinois rushed for 225 yards in that win, and they held Maryland to 55 yards rushing for the game. Maryland's not a good rushing team, but that's still impressive. Maryland is hosting Michigan next week. Illinois will be at Wisconsin.
Washington Huskies improved to 7-3, 4-3 in the Big Ten with a 49-13 win over still winless in the Big Ten. Purdue Boilermakers. They're 2-9 overall.
Most of their games have been pretty close, though. Purdue.
Yeah, this was not.
This was not. This was not.
No Jonah Coleman for the Washington Huskies. Well, that wasn't really that big of a problem. Adam Mohammed scored a career-high 3 rushing touchdowns as the Huskies rolled 49-13 over the Boilermakers. Kind of a just dominant performance.
Yeah.
Washington jumped out to a 28-0 lead at halftime, and eventually I think they were up at one point 42-3. And they win this one 49-13. Purdue hosts Indiana on November 28th. And Washington is at UCLA next Saturday.
7-3. They're a good football team.
Yep.
So we rank the teams at this particular point. We always do every week, do the rundown, then rank the teams. Obviously, for me, and I don't think it's the same for you, you've had Indiana as the number 1 team in the league. I still have Ohio State, the number 1 team in the league. They're the number 1 in the country. Indiana is also the number 2 team on my list and the number 2 ranked team in the country. Number 3, I guess where it starts for me, and that's Oregon. So that's not really a big debate either. They're 9-1. We'll find out this week, as we said. Oregon's going to play USC, and I have USC as the 4th best team in the league, and Michigan 5th. Is that
pretty close? I'm got Indiana 1, Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, and then 4th. Both I'm going to call it a tie. USC and Michigan tied for 4th, which then puts Iowa in at number 6. I think Washington's probably 7.
Michigan's not very good.
Yeah, but they're 8-2.
But haven't we said that? I think we said that at times, even when they won the national title. They
Yeah.
just win ugly.
Yeah.
They just find a way to win. They kicked a field goal to beat Northwestern 24-22 at Wrigley yesterday. But USC sometimes wins ugly, but they beat a better team in Iowa. For that reason, I have them ahead of Michigan. And then I have Iowa 6th. I still think Iowa, on a given day, could beat anybody, maybe with the exception of Indiana or Ohio State. I think they could beat either of those teams. They almost beat Indiana at home. They should have beat Indiana at home.
Yeah, they should have. And somehow, some way,
they missed a field goal.
That Kinnick magic.
So I have Iowa 6th. And then I have Washington, Illinois, and Nebraska all clumped together.
Yeah.
Because they're all 3-loss teams, and they're kind of similar. Some might rank Minnesota ahead of Nebraska because they beat them head-to-head. I don't. They've kind of drifted away. And then I've got Minnesota at 8th, and then everybody else.
Well, I think Michigan State and Purdue are in a
UCLA.
They're in a fight with their hands are wrapped in toilet paper, throwing punches.
I've never seen a fight like that. It's kind of interesting.
They're
toilet
both,
paper fight.
They're combined 0-15 in the league. So
there you go. So we did it. We got through the Big Ten Blitz, and we're going to get through another hour. We're going to start it with Tonia Tauke, former Nebraska volleyball star, middle blocker, played for both Terry Pettit and John Cook in the heyday of it's always the heyday of Nebraska volleyball.
We're in the middle of it.
We are in the middle of the heyday of Nebraska volleyball. Another sweep, big surprise for Nebraska volleyball. Played really well in the win versus USC. We'll talk to Tonia. She's there. She was there at the game, both the UCLA game and the USC game today. So we'll talk a little volleyball with Tonia Tauke coming up next. Mike Melby, Tom Stevens is Husker Rewind. More on the way.
in the aisle.
On Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back to the sound of the Ataris. Their cover of.
I love this version. You don't like the original version by the Eagles.
I can't stand the original version. I love this.
You just don't like the Eagles.
No. I don't.
But this is a great version of that song.
Anyway, I'm Mike Belby. That is Tom Stevens. This is Husker Rewind every Sunday afternoon from 5 to 7 right here on 1400 KLIN, also 99.3 FM. Joining us now on the Hunt Irrigation Talk and Text line, former Nebraska middle blocker, Tonia Tauke Dorn. Tonia, I believe you are a California girl right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was. We could also include some sunshine in that talk because California is usually the place for sunshine, but we brought the rain.
Oh, that's sad.
So CCR was involved with another Bad Eagles song. It never
right.
rains in Southern California.
Cool,
but
stop the rain.
Cool
Nobody stopped the rain.
Yeah, there you go.
But you didn't stop victories. They just keep on coming. Although the set streak dead end for Nebraska volleyball. They didn't play great, it seemed like, on Friday night versus UCLA.
Right. I mean, I think what we saw was we just thought we were going to be able to go in there and dominate, and UCLA was digging balls and hitting shots. And they were just outworking us, if that makes sense, because normally we set Andy at the kill. Well, they were digging Andy and then setting their person who hit a shot instead of hitting their hardest swing, which we're used to people giving us their hardest swing. And instead of hitting as hard as they can, they hit as smart as they could. And it was like, wait a minute, we were normally getting a kill off of Andy's swing. Why are we not getting kills? And so I think that just kind of gave us that punch in the gut of like, what do I got to do different? And we just didn't play our game after that.
Tonia, I want to ask you about a specific point in the weekend. It was 6-2, I believe, Nebraska in the second set today. And there was a point that like the entire Husker volleyball nation stood up and screamed, "That's Husker volleyball." Do you know the point I'm talking about?
Yes.
Walk me through that. That was insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we saw against UCLA was that we are going to have to, like I said, outwork the other team. And, it's the outworking them by covering, outworking them by making the smart play sometimes and not just the dominant play. And in that specific rally, I think there were maybe 3 digs in a row off of their All-American shot. Like, maybe there was a cover ball in there too, where, Harper laid out for a ball and Olivia's already on the floor and Bergen's sliding on her knees to set someone. And then we get blocked and then somebody dug it. And then we set up somebody in the back row to get a full swing, and we got a full swing and was able to get the point, and the whole crowd went crazy.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. To me, I was almost more impressed with USC's ability to dig on that rally. There were balls that to me normally get down when the Huskers hit, but that was an incredible point and a microcosm of other opposing coaches are going to watch that and go, how do you beat this team?
Well, it's tough because they're 26-0, 16-0, 26-0, 16-0, obviously the number one ranked team in the country. They're hitting .412. And I've asked you this before, and I'll ask you again, and I know what the answer will be. But there are some that come up to me and say, yeah, I almost wish they would lose a game. We had this discussion last year. I almost wish they would just lose one to take the pressure off. And your response is always, no, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And why do you say that?
I mean, I think you just got to, if you're doing your job and you're playing your game, I think Danny has done a really good job of saying that we aren't going to be relieved when we win. We aren't going to be relieved because that means that we're not enjoying it and that we're not having fun. And on a completely side note, my daughter won a state championship this last weekend.
Wow.
And yeah, so she's a freshman. She had 32 kills on the weekend. She's never played right side before in her life. And so the pressure that I felt as a former Husker, as a club director, of all the things. And then for them to win a state championship, when that point went down, like I felt like I got stung by a bee. Like my heart just like went into shock. And I feel like it was relief, because I was relieved that she did a good job because of all the things that we've done. Like we fly to California and she plays in the beach tournaments, and we go to all these, she plays clubs, she plays volleyball her whole life. And, sometimes you question yourself as a parent of, should I be putting my kid in this much stuff? But then to have her win a state championship, it was like relief. And I don't feel like the Huskers ever need to feel relief, because they've earned the right to win every match that they walk into. There should be no relief. It should be dominance. And what we saw against UCLA was that they're used to dominating, and they weren't dominating. And so then they had to adjust, and they did in the third and fourth set. We saw Bergen setting better. She's used to getting these kills as a setter, and she wasn't. So then she was trying harder. Instead, she got subbed out, and I'm hoping Danny said to her, hey, just play your game. You're good. Just because they're digging you doesn't mean that you're not good. Like, don't question if you're good. And I think that's the part of the, the mindset of just go out and win, is like, you've earned the right to win. So it's not about pressure anymore.
I want to bring up, I believe it was following the Creighton game, Emily Eamon may have asked a very similar question about the pressure, or similar question, the pressure of remaining undefeated. And Danny Busboom Kelly said, what pressure? I want them to enjoy every single game, expect to win every game. And when you do, celebrate it and enjoy it. It's not a relief. Like, we're living the dream. Just simply enjoy them.
Yeah.
And it's literally what you were just saying, that attitude seems to personify this team.
She does have a gift of delivering a message and like, hey, we're playing volleyball at a really high level. Yes, we're the number one team in the country. Yes, we're undefeated. Yes, there's some pressure that comes with that. But her answer is always, hey, we see it every day in practice. We go against the best. So that kind of, we talk about it. Mike and I talk about it all the time, kind of comparing them to the 95 national championship team, and that they knew that they were practicing against the best every day. And that kind of just relieves some stress going into games. Does that make any sense?
Right. Because the practices are harder than the game.
Yes.
Which I think that the Huskers expected the practice to be harder than the game against UCLA, and it wasn't. It was like, oh, we have to work hard against this team. Yep, that's the requirement. They play a different style of volleyball. You have to up your just the off ball, the cover ball defense.
All right, Tonia Tauke Dorn joining us on the Hunt Irrigation Talk and Text line. I want to ask you about this. We are 26 games into the season. There's 4 left. You know the team that you've got. You are a coach. You run Nebraska 1. You have lived your entire life around volleyball. And I'm going to put you in Danny Busboom Kelly's shoes. And what are you working on over the final 4 games of the regular season before the real fun begins?
I'm putting up 4 blockers in the front row and 4 defenders in the back row at practice.
Really?
Because that's what it felt like against UCLA. Like, I felt like Singletary's block in the front row felt like 2 people. And I felt like UCLA's defense in the back row felt like 4 people instead of 3 people. So the Huskers should be playing against 8 people instead of 6 people at practice is what I would be doing.
Did you have coaches that would do that occasionally?
I mean, I do that at my 15th practice last year when we just were going up against the bigger girls that are blocking better. And so we put 4 blockers across the front row. So there's less holes. You have to be smarter. You have to hit harder. You have to be faster. You can't just set the high ball to the outside because you've got a triple block. What are you going to do against a triple block? Because that's when our triple block is what a double block feels like in like the open levels. So I just feel like that's what it was like to play UCLA. So put 8 people out there.
I want to ask you a question as a former player. I played sand volleyball, beer leagues around town, and it was semi-decent at it. However, there are times that I hear color commentators allude to it, whether it be, JB and whoever's on the radio with him that particular game, or if it's nationally televised, talk about they made the adjustment literally as the ball was in the air on where they were going to hit. when you were playing, were you able to decipher, was the game moving at such a slow pace for you that you were able to go, you know what, I'm going line, and halfway through your swing, you're like, nope, she went up that way, I'm going cross court?
I mean, I did that on blocking more than I did that in hitting, where you show that you're going to take the seam, but then you drop your pinky and take the cut. I could see that happening, not necessarily my freshman year, but definitely could see that happening. I think, being around Jordan Larson and going to her games and going to the Olympics and watching the adjustments mid-serve, like when I was watching the Love team play in the championships in Louisville, Kentucky, the serve would go up and they would shift their front row outside out of the serve receive pattern, and Jordan would step in as the back row outside and pass her ball, because everybody knew in the whole gym that the outside front row was going to get the serve. So as soon as the girl tossed the ball up, Justine and Jordan shifted towards the outside so they could pass, and then the outside had a clear shot on passing without having to pass the ball first. And so some of those kind of adjustments are happening in the college game. I see Harper going up as a block, but noticing that they're going to tip it and pulling her hands down, and her ponytail is still, flying in the air, and the girl thinks that she's going to use her hands and hits way out of bounds. And so those are the kind of adjustments that are starting to happen, because we get to watch pros play in the United States now. And girls are able, like 14-year-old, 15-year-old girls are able to come in and watch those things happen mid-ball in the air, is only raising our level. So Harper is watching Jordan do this in Nebraska. She goes to her games. She's at her practices. Jordan's practicing against them because she's able to be in Nebraska because she's playing pro. So Jordan goes up to block Harper, pulls her hands, and Harper's like, man, I had that. She's like, no, not today.
Yeah.
Those kind of things are happening in the college game now because the pros are in Nebraska.
Yep. That's true. Tonia Tauke Dorn, our guest, of course, former Nebraska middle blocker. We know the stat: Nebraska is number 1 in the country in attendance at home. Number 2 when they go on the road. They set 2 more attendance records this weekend, both at UCLA and then at USC today. What's it like being there in the crowd, just with these rabid, crazy Nebraska fans?
Well, actually, it was funny because the one game we were standing there for, wait to get in for an hour, and these people didn't have the cadence right for the Go Big Red. They were doing it backwards. They were doing Go Big Red, and then we were like, Go Big Red. I'm like, you guys, we're doing it wrong. Like, come on. You're obviously not from Lincoln, and you're here for the game. So we had to do a little training sesh to get it to be like, it's slow first and then fast. Like, what Husker games are you guys going to? So once we got that a little bit figured out, but I mean, I think it's just that I'll just tell you this a little bit funny story, because I played club. I'm from Nebraska. So in the 90s, we're talking like 92 to 94. And we would go to these tournaments, and there was a team called Sunshine, and they wear the international jerseys, and they have sunshine across their butt, and they have sponsors, they wear the international jerseys. And we would be playing against them, and they would always beat us because they're so dang good. But they would be like, oh my gosh, you're from Nebraska. Do you even have running water and phones? And do you take courses to school? And do you have paved roads and all this stuff? Because in California and Nebraska was
sure,
whatever. So these Sunshine girls were sitting in the UCLA stands wearing Harper Murray jerseys. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Nebraska has arrived. And all these little California girls are screaming at the top of their lungs for Harper Murray and Becca Alec and Andy Jackson and Bergen Riley, because, 20 years ago, Nebraska was mud and volleyball in California was legit. And so it's just really, really fun to be in the crowds and seeing, the kind of the evolution of Nebraska volleyball being something special for the whole country and not just in Nebraska.
Now they just need to learn the Go Big Red chant, and they're good.
Yes, we had it. We had it for the USC game. We were on it. It was so much better. I was not did not have cringe. It was not cringe. It was so cringy at UCLA. I'm like, dude, who taught you this? Wrong cadence.
I loved your Valley Girl accent, by the way, and
Nailed
it
it.
brought back
Yeah.
memories
Absolutely
of
nailed
the
it.
greatest
Absolutely.
Nick Cage
Oh my
movie
gosh,
of all
you guys,
time,
like, have
Valley Girl.
fun.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those girls, it's crazy because those girls that are going to these games, at 10, 12, some of them are going to be playing for Nebraska, in 10 years, 5, maybe
Exactly.
sooner. So it's crazy the impact that Nebraska volleyball is having all over the country. It's crazy. They're rock stars. They're absolute rock
Yeah.
stars.
Absolute rock stars.
Well, we love having you on, and we'll definitely have you back very soon. We appreciate you being there. That's cool that you went to both games Friday and
I
today's
was
sweep.
part of the record.
Nice.
Breaking records right and left over here.
You can't be stopped. Breaking records everywhere she goes. Tonia Tauke Dorn,
Yep.
former Nebraska volleyball star. We appreciate the time. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Bye.
There you go.
Thanks, Tonia.
Tanya. She's one of the great ones. Love talking to her.
Okay, when we come back, there was a comedian that did a joke around the "Go Big Red" chant. I'll share a little bit of it. It's funny.
Well,
It's
it might
making
have
fun
to
of
be.
Nebraska fans.
It might have to be after Andy Markowski.
Oh, we got Andy up next.
We've got Andy Markowski,
right.
former Nebraska basketball captain, played in the knee era from 95 to 99, and he broadcast Nebraska basketball for BTN Plus. So we'll talk to him about yesterday's game. Andy Markowski is coming up next.
Melby with a combined 60-plus years of broadcasting experience. I guess that means they're really old.
They're going to make him do this till he's 90.
On Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back. My name is Mike Melby. Tom Stevens across the way, efforting Mr. Andy Markowski, former Nebraska basketball captain he's captain, I believe, in 1998-99. Played for the Huskers for Danny Nee during the glory years of 95 through 99. Started with that 90-91 team. So in the first hour, in the first segment, we had Jack Mitchell on. And I have not breaking news. He tweeted this out about noon today. But he pulled the interview of the century that you can hear right here on KLIN on Lincoln Today tomorrow morning at 8:35. He will be talking with Kurt Malley, who is the guy that was in I'm Full Mast shirt that got kicked out of the Nebraska game against Oklahoma yesterday up at the Sanford Pentagon. He grabbed the ball that had rolled to him. He had courtside seats, and he threw it back to the referee with a little bit too much zip and said something along the lines of, call him both ways. The referee said, get out. So he is going to appear with Jack Mitchell on Lincoln Today tomorrow morning at 8:35. Make sure you catch that right here on 1400
Would you have kicked
KLIN.
him out for what he did?
Oh, no, not in any way, shape, or form.
He threw the ball rather hard. I mean, the ball bounced to him. And I've seen guys kicked out for less because my wife's family would occasionally get the really good seats where you could sit right by the officials. And some officials are really cool and they'll talk to you. Other officials don't like that. Come on. I mean, I sat next to a guy that said, come on, ref, that was a bad call. And the guy yanked him. He said, that's enough of you. You just go away.
So you've sat courtside and not attacked a referee physically?
No, I've never attacked anyone.
Really?
As far as I know.
Because I could literally see you watching games with you where you would have jumped on the court and tackled a referee.
Yeah, well, I always talk about it, but I'm not really a tough guy when push comes to shove. Did you see the play we're talking about, Andy, and the guy got kicked out of the game last night?
I did. I was watching on TV. I was not there, but I was trying. On TV, you could see the ref or the security come over and ask him to leave. I was in my mind. I kind of put two and two together what happened because you kind of seen him throw the ball in an earlier clip. But yeah, kind of funny. I think the guy was embarrassed, and now he's getting all kinds of fame for it. So I'm sure he likes his decision now.
Yeah, well, he's going to be on this radio station tomorrow with Jack Mitchell, so I'm definitely going to listen to that interview.
Have to see if he can get an NIL deal.
Nebraska wins 105-99. They shoot 56% from the 58% from the floor, 56% from three. They were unconscious at times. I thought they were capable of scoring maybe 80 points against a really good defensive team. I didn't see 105 coming. Did you?
Well, they can shoot it. I've been fortunate to do 5 of their their games this year on BTN Plus, and there's stretches where, they've put 5, 6, 7 threes together in, a 12 to 15 possession streak. So they're capable. They've, I think Coach Hoiberg has put a premium on finding some players that can shoot, and, certainly getting Rick Mass back. But yeah, Oklahoma's a good team, long defensively. I feel like Nebraska played about as efficient as a game as you could play against a good team, and they needed all of it to get what I think by the end of the year will be a nice win that will look good on the resume.
I think it will as well. Talk to me a little bit about, though, the team that they played against, Oklahoma, in the NCAA tournament last year. They've got 2 of the more exciting players in the SEC, and Nigel Pack and Xavier Brown. I didn't know if they could slow them down enough to get the win, and they didn't slow them down much, but it was enough. But what'd you think of Oklahoma?
Yeah, Porter, he's got a good group. I thought they really had a good, early in that game, their pressure bothered us, and I think that's a weakness of this group is we don't put the ball on the floor and it gets by you, and certainly Lawrence picking up 2 fouls, I think affected our ability to drive by them. And then I thought offensively they had a good approach. They didn't get it on the baseline, which if you do that against Nebraska's defense, we can double and trap. I thought they forced some double teams and then played out of it and made a bunch of shots themselves. So, I don't think we did a great job on them defensively. We just, happened to turn it over 5 times and make a bushel full of threes and won what was a really exciting game.
Yeah, it was a win I think that we'll look back at and think that's a pretty good win. They beat Wisconsin in the exhibition season. Nebraska beat BYU in the exhibition season. Hard to know what to take from that. They got beat by 15 at Gonzaga. So I guess we'll see how good Oklahoma is going forward. We know that Rick Mask is really good. I didn't know how good he would be this early in the season coming off a major knee surgery. But it seems like the bigger game, the better he plays. 26 points, 5 of 7 from 3. How good, in your mind, can Rick Mask be? Can he be much better than he is right now?
No, I mean, he's got, one of 3 triple doubles in the history of Nebraska basketball, right? He, goes for 31 against BYU, 20, 26 or 28. I haven't reviewed the stat sheet yesterday. So he's playing like he should. He's a 7th-year senior. He's 3-time all-conference. To your point, sitting out a year is never easy, but they were able to kind of bring him along slowly. I had a chance to watch their last summer practice. They kind of did a formal scrimmage with referees, and he was terrific in that game. I think he made 6 or 7 threes in a 40-minute scrimmage. So it's great to have him back. He's a great college player. He does so much to help that offense, and it's really hard for opposing coaches to defend. You just don't see a lot of 5s that can pass and move and shoot and spread the floor at that position like Rink will do. And, it makes everyone else on the court better.
Obviously, Bryce Sanford had a great game at 28 points, but the guy that stood out to me, along with Cale Jacobson, was Berke Buktagel. I thought it was his best game as a Husker. What do you think?
Yeah, he's Berke through last year. I thought they won the Rainbow Classic, and he was really playing good basketball. And then, sprained an ankle, and then hurt his back, and then late in the year, what was not very good. And I think that was one of the reasons why they didn't get to the NCAA tournament. But really did a lot to his conditioning, his body, his ability to defend and rebound and play alongside Rink. And then if he can just score, I think he had 15. If he can be in double figures, that makes that front line, really, really good. I mean, Berke is all of 6'10", 6'11", can get on the floor and defend more mobile fours. And then you play him and Rink together. I think that group can hold up on the backboard as well. So no, I think he's had a really good start to the season. And if he can stay healthy, it will be a big part of what type of season they have.
Andy Markowski joining us on the Hunt Irrigation Talk and text line. I want to jump back to Rink Mast and ask you a question based on your comment that Rink is a really, really good college player. Is Rink Mast a player that we will see in the NBA, do you believe? We know he's going to play professionally.
Yeah, the NBA is it's such a great league with just athleticism and length and size, but it is a specialty league where, certain guys can find roster spots by doing unique things. And, Rink is can pick and pop. My concern with Rink is his ability to defend, more athletic fours, which at 6'9", he's probably not going to play center in the league. His ball handling and then ability to rebound. He gets, I know he's had 26 or 27 double-doubles in college, which is awesome, but I don't know how great of an NBA rebounder he could be along the front line. So once again, that's not a knock. It's just a hard league to make, but he's certainly going to make a lot of money playing, professionals at some level.
It seems like Cale Jacobson has really, maybe it was the crown that gave him confidence at the end of last year, but he had 10 points, 3 for 3 from the field. How important is he, you think, going to be to this team going forward?
Well, yeah, Cale, he kind of came out of nowhere last year. Didn't get a lot of rotational minutes through the season, and then postseason did a lot of great things. They need depth. If you look at the minutes, they really only played, six players yesterday. Sejan, played a little bit. They're going to have to find some consistency in 7, 8, 9, and certainly Cale with the career high yesterday at 10 points. I think Coach Hoiberg trusts him. That was a really high-level game on what Oklahoma was asking us to do offensively, and then some of the actions they were running against us. There's a couple transfers that Nebraska have in Garcia and Blue that I just don't feel Coach has trust
in them where Jacobson was a little ahead of those guys probably from some of the adjustments and things that they were asked to do in that game. So I hope, Kel can consistently, play well, but they're going to have to find, 7, 8, 9 to have the season that I think, they want to have and get back to the tournament.
Well, I think one of 7, 8, and 9 is the leading scorer coming into yesterday's game. Braden Frager did not have a spectacular game, only played 7 minutes, 45 seconds. Do you think that was more of based on what you just said about Jared Garcia and Kendall Blue, that there were some things that maybe were a couple of grades above where Braden is right now on complete understanding of what needed to be done?
Yeah, but I think you throw Frager right in with those other two. He just was not ready. And, I think Fred said it, that the adjustments and what his starting five were doing offensively was such high level in terms of having to run multiple cuts, multiple screens. Oklahoma switching a lot of stuff. So, we were having to slip, and then we were posting bear K on mismatches. There's just a lot of complicated basketball. And, I think Frager is going to, have a good career or, a good year. He's off to a great start. But there was just some things in that game where I think Fred was going to play the guys, and they were hot. You don't want to take guys off the court that are shooting that well. But Frager is another one that I think has to, be productive and brings a little bit different element than Sanford and Sejan in the fact that he's a little bit more athletic, can drive the basketball, can get fouled, can, shoots passing lanes and rebounds really well. It's kind of a small forward. So there's some things that Braden does that, I think will help them this season.
You got New Mexico, I believe, next Thursday in the Hall of Fame Classic. And then you've got the winner of Kansas State versus, was it Ole Miss?
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. So how do you see those games going? Nebraska doesn't have the toughest non-conference schedule, but you got Creighton coming up. How do you think they look as far as, compared to those teams over the next 2-3 games?
Yeah, I saw New Mexico lost to New Mexico State. I don't, obviously Richard Pitino left there, so it's kind of not a rebuild, but certainly a new group that there was there a year ago. I think we're better than New Mexico. I think Mississippi State and K-State are both good teams. Mississippi State was, projected to be in the tournament, preseason. So that's another chance to get a good win on the neutral floor if you get Kansas State and Mississippi State. And then, as you mentioned, you still have Creighton, on your schedule at home. So if you could get through the non-con with, even going 2-1 with those marquee potential tournament games, would be great to go 3-0, but even 2-1, I think would position them well as they go into conference.
Andy, last year, every time we had you on, we were talking about your daughter, Alexis, and whatever new record she just set. What is Alexis up to these days for Nebraska fans that don't know?
Well, yeah, thanks for asking. So Alexis actually had her hamstring reconstructed in April. A lot of people didn't know. She was probably about 85% last season. Played with really her 2 of her 3 proximal heads of her hamstring rolled off of the bone. So she is in the process of rehabbing that. Has some offers to maybe go to Europe. She wouldn't be cleared until December. So she's analyzing if that is the next chapter to go play professionally or join the real world and get a job. But right now she is helping OSA, which is a youth organization out of Omaha. She's helping as an assistant girls director, coaching a 3rd and 7th grade team. So opportunity to give back a little bit. So it's we kind of missed watching her, but she's ready for the next chapter. And she went down to the Creighton game on Wednesday, so she said it was kind of fun to be back around the group. And certainly the Nebraska women got a big a rivalry win against Creighton last week.
Always fun to beat Creighton. Andy Markowski, former Husker hoopster, played under Danny Nee, was captain back in the day, played from 95 to 99. We love having you on. Love your stuff on the Big Ten Network as well. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate the time. There he is, Andy Markowski, Nebraska Husker hoopster. Got to talk a little Husker football as we head out. We still have our picks of density. We have not done that. So we'll do that all coming up. Mike Melby, Tom Stevens, Husker Rewind. More on the way.
You're listening to Husker Rewind. Sean Hannity is next. Stevens.
They've done studies, 60% of the time it works every time.
Husker Rewind on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Hake looks to get it in, into Petrie up the left sideline, 60-foot jumper. You betcha! You betcha! A 60-foot miracle from way down under. Aussie. Are you kidding me? Jessica Petrie brings the crowd to their feet. She shot it from three-quarter court. You betcha! What a shot! Jessica Petrie.
Nebraska knocking off Creighton in that game. Jessica Petrie making the 60-footer the highlight. And they win again today. They beat South Dakota State 82-70. Maybe not their best game, but they are 4-0. Nebraska gets 12 from Petrie today. Britt Pierce, Prince, I should say, had 16. And Hargrove had... Maya Hargrove had 16 as well. So really nice performance against Creighton, and then maybe a little lackluster day at the Pentagon. They also played at the Pentagon, did Nebraska basketball, but 4-0. Can't argue with that start. And I wonder how good this team can be when Natalie Potts comes back.
Yeah. It's interesting, too, because everybody, it was Alexis Markowski's team last year, and it kind of was 2 years ago. Britt Prince comes in as, the heir apparent. And there were times as the season went along where you're like, oh, she is that good. And so far this year, wow.
Yeah.
She's got a crossover that Tim Hardaway is like, damn, that's a good crossover. I mean, she's breaking people's knees, man. It's insane.
And what Amy Williams is doing in recruiting is really impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, I believe the 7th ranked class in the country in basketball, women's basketball recruiting.
Yeah.
So impressive what they're doing, and continue to win. And Natalie Potts gets back. You don't know how good this team could be. Probably going to be mid-season before she gets back. And Oogie's out for Nebraska basketball on the men's side. You wonder what he could add as well going forward.
And with Oogie Yarushevicius.
Yeah, I didn't try to pronounce his last name.
Yarushevicius. I've been practicing, man.
Yeah. Nice job.
With Oogie, though, he is a fourth-year senior, so he has not redshirted. If perhaps, they get to mid-season and that back is still giving him fits, I mean, you got to wonder if he does have that red shirt available.
Those injuries can be, you just don't know. I mean, anybody that's dealt with a back problem, you just don't know.
Hopefully we see him on the floor on Thursday for the first time this year. That would be the hope, to have him healthy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he still has that redshirt season.
And he's 6'10". He was the player of the year in the conference, playing for Western Michigan, was it?
Central Michigan
in the MAC. And maybe a poor man's rink is what you get out of him. I don't know. If you can get anything that's comparable. I mean, he can shoot the three. He's got a good post game, good passer. We just haven't seen enough of him at Nebraska to really know. We do know the environment, just talking to Jack at the Pentagon, was in fuego. That you could hear it on TV. Nebraska fans just going nuts, and made it a really, not that Oklahoma really showed it because they played so well, but it had to be a little intimidating even for Oklahoma as well as they played. This is Fred Hoiberg talking about playing at the Pentagon.
Yeah, we love it here, and we get a benefit from this game. It helps us. It helps us financially. So we're going to keep coming up here. I know our fans love it. They circled this game on the calendar as one of the highlights of the year. And it was last night. We saw a bunch of people at dinner when we went out as a team, and you see them at our hotel. We had the Go Big Red chant from about 30 kids when we were walking out to the bus today. It was really cool. And yeah, I mean, this is a great venue. I think I might have scheduled one of the first college games when I was at Iowa State. I didn't coach it, but I think I scheduled it. So I've always known this is a really cool place. And we're certainly going to keep coming back because it's an advantage for us. It's a neutral game, but obviously we get the majority of the fans. So, we'll keep hunting for good opponents, to make this a good, a fun, exciting game. And we're going to continue to do that. And I got to give Price some credit too. 7 assists, that's a career high as well, and 0 turnovers. I mean, that's big time.
Nice plug for Price Sanford at the end of that, promoting the Pentagon. They say they make money off of it. You would think you could find a bigger arena, but it's kind of cool that it's 3,500 fans and they're just rabid and they're right on top of it.
Well, the Denny Sanford Center, same benefactor that has his name on that, the Sanford Pentagon, but the Denny Sanford Center it holds 8,000 ish. It's right next door to the Sioux Falls Arena that the hockey team used to play in. Now they play in that new one, and it's 8,000 seats. I don't know if it's ice only. I would assume they could put a basketball floor in there, but they continue to play games at the Pentagon. It's been a tradition. I don't see that they're going to move it anytime soon.
It's a huge home. I mean, basically a home court for Nebraska, even though they call it a neutral site. It's a huge advantage for Nebraska because they're all Nebraska fans. And they've won 3 out of 4 there. St. Mary's, they lost last year in that game. But it's a fun event. I hope they keep going. And I was surprised. I didn't know that Fred actually scheduled a game there when he was at Iowa State as the head coach, and then he left to the NBA, so he didn't get to coach in it. College football, top 25, some upsets over the weekend, some fun games to watch. Oklahoma upsets number 4 Alabama. There had been some talk that Nebraska could face Oklahoma in a bowl game. That's probably not going to happen now. They're still in the college football playoff hunt, but I guess you never know what's going to happen here. They got 17 points off turnovers. Alabama turned it over 3 times, including a pick 6, as Oklahoma wins that one at Alabama in Tuscaloosa, 23-10 or 23-20, I should say. Texas A&M, with probably the performance of the weekend, they were down 27-3 at halftime and came back to beat South Carolina 31-30. That was an amazing comeback. They did it at home. South Carolina's not very good this year, but still a very good comeback on the part of Texas A&M, and they're one of the favorites now. They'll be obviously in the college football playoff. They're one of the favorites to win it, but it's interesting. I think they play Texas this week. If Texas wins that game, Texas may be still alive, even with their loss to Georgia this weekend. They got blown out 35-10. But if they're to win that game versus Texas A&M, some people think they could be the 3-loss team that gets into the college football playoff.
Well, and it's the ESPN bias is going to say, I mean, like I said, it's A&M is the SEC is the greatest conference that's ever been because A&M is being pushed by South Carolina, and then a team with the identical record in the Big Ten who was it? Wisconsin?
Yeah.
That is giving Indiana fits. And oh my gosh, Indiana's overrated. ESPN just needs to shut up about the SEC. Hey,
well, they're getting money from the SEC. And so, I mean, they're the promotion mechanism for the SEC. So you understand why they do it.
So how anxious have you been for Shadur Sanders to finally get a play meaningful snaps in an NFL game?
I'm not, because he plays for the Cleveland Browns, who are maybe one of the top 5 worst teams in the NFL.
So Dylan Gabriel, they believe it may have been on the 4th sack of the game by Myles Garrett in the first half on Dylan Gabriel that he got a concussion. So Shadur let him out in the second half. And I will tell you right now, everybody that doubted Shadur Sanders and his abilities in the NFL right now,
what's he doing?
They're doing dances and they're saying, I told you so. He was 4 of 16 passing for 47 yards and an interception. And he had 3 carries for 16 yards. And he blew the 16-10 lead that they had by being completely inept. And that was that.
And they traded Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco kind of blew up. He didn't play well today, but Joe Flacco has been playing really well for Cincinnati. So Joe Flacco, obviously not a Hall of Famer, but borderline. I mean, he's had a really, really good career, and he's still playing pro football into his 40s. But I can't say that I'm really unhappy for Shadur Sanders. I never really loved him.
Yeah,
and based on your sarcasm, I don't think you did either.
No. No. I read that and I just smiled inside.
Yeah. Well, he's not a great. I mean, remember all the talk during the draft? I don't know if you watched the NFL draft this year, but Mel Kiper talking about how he was a first rounder, and it's just a shame and stupidity by all the NFL teams that Shadur wasn't taken in the first round. And what was he picked in the fifth round?
Fifth round.
I think he's proven all the naysayers right.
I mean, well, in one half of football, granted.
I mean, there's still time.
Yeah.
Well, there's still time. He could be even worse.
True. Let's hope for the worst.
I don't, love being negative, but in his case, whatever. NFL scores today. The Vikings fall again. They go down to the Bears 19-17. Dolphins are on a win streak. I think they've won, 2 or 3 in a row. 16-13 over the Commanders. The Steelers beat the Bengals today badly, 34-12. Jaguars over the Chargers today. The Bills beat the Buccaneers 44-32. It was the Texans over the Titans. You had the Panthers beating the Falcons today. Packers over the Giants 27-20. And the Rams beat the Seahawks 21-19. So there you go. It's about time for our picks of density. Are you ready?
I am. I want to find you and I had never heard of him. Neither had Jack Mitchell. Nebraska had an interior offensive lineman decommit earlier today, and that is Leon Noyle Jr. So he decommits from Nebraska today. He's going to go to Mississippi State. Flip side, in more breaking news, Nebraska's working towards hosting massive interior offensive lineman Micaiah Madalow for an official visit on November 28th. So something tells me that it may have just been Nebraska possibly said, hey, if you want to go visit Starkville, go ahead. If you like what you see, go ahead.
Yeah, you always wonder when somebody decommits how much of it was the school and how much of it was the player. In some cases, they're saying, hey, we're concerned about your injury, or we're just not. We got this other guy that we're considering that we want to take a visit. We like him a little better. I mean, if you're honest, you just be honest with the kids and pull the Band-Aid.
Yeah,
that's the way to go.
Yeah, so I mean, the gentleman or the young man that decommitted is an extremely talented player.
Yeah, so maybe that wasn't the case at all. Maybe he just decided, Nebraska's not the school for me. That happens all the time. Or maybe he got a better NIL deal from somebody else. You just don't know what's going on. I do know that Nebraska does not have now projection-wise, their 2027 class is seen to be potentially huge.
Well, potentially scary, like
potentially
full of dudes.
But this one has not been rated high.
No.
And because Nebraska still is one of the younger teams in the Big Ten, this is not an excuse. This is just what I've heard. They're one of the younger teams in the Big Ten. They only had 11 commits as of today, and maybe now it's 10 with the decommit. So they've had among the fewer commits in the Big Ten, but among the higher star rankings from what I've heard. But they're just not going to take a lot of high school kids because they're so young. And I think they're going to fill up the class with portal guys.
Well, and JUCOs. They did extend numerous offers to 2026 guys that would be JUCOs. So
there you go.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. Let's get to our picks of density.
It's time now for the picks of density.
Because it's a pick! A destiny.
Wait a minute. It says density on here.
I'm your density.
Oh, I get it. Because your picks carry a lot of weight, right?
Ah, man. That's so heavy.
All right, let's roll with it. The picks of density.
Either last night or earlier today, former Nebraska basketball player Bryce Williams played in his third game for the Motor City Cruise.
Huh?
Yeah. Not a great game.
Is that a G League team? That's
G
a
League team, yeah. He only had 41 points, made 6 3-pointers, and shot 70% from the floor. So, yeah.
My goodness, is that really? What was his stat line? I mean,
the highlight I saw didn't have the stat line in it. It just said that he went for 40 points.
Oh my goodness!
Had 6 made 3-pointers and shot 70% from the field.
Remember, we had that discussion all of last year. Is he an NBA player?
Yeah.
And most said no.
Yeah.
I think he is. I think he'll play in the league.
Yeah,
I really think he'll play in the league.
That ability to get to the rim. The one knock that I think most people would have is his defensive ability and athleticism that he really doesn't have to play in the league.
Yeah.
But the flip side, if you've got a guy that, I mean, realistically could go off for 30 or 40, you're going to live with a little defensive liability.
I think he's a little more athletic than you think. He can score at all 3 levels. He's a good 3-point shooter. He's a good he had the best mid-range game I've ever seen from a Nebraska basketball player. He was a good 3-point shooter, and he was a great free throw shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think there's a place for him on an NBA team. I think it'll get better and better. I really do.
All right, now back to sorry, I just had that pop up on my Twitter feed. I was like, hey, we got to talk about Bryce, man.
That was worthy of mention.
So this is for most of the SEC. This is their bye week, i.e., they play Podunk State. So there's not a ton of great games this coming week. However, we do have.
By the way, I wish the Big Ten would do that.
I do too, and go back to 8 conference games.
Yeah, and play Roast Beef State and use it as a bye week.
Yeah.
Get healthy.
Yeah, completely agree. Missouri, not quite the season that they'd hoped. They've fallen out of the top 25. Are going to play at number 11, Oklahoma. Sooners favored by 9.5. And there were rumors earlier this week that Eli Drinkwitz had told his team he is going to take the Penn State job. It was a rumor mill thing that I'd heard some scuttlebutt on. I did some checking, and I have no idea what rumor mill it was.
James Franklin keeps getting mentioned in connection with the West Virginia job.
West Virginia or Virginia Tech? I know it's one of the two.
Oh, it might be Virginia Tech. You might. You might be right. It might be the Virginia. It's one of the Virginia schools.
Yeah. Anyway, Missouri at number 11, Oklahoma. Sooners favored by 9.5 to the win by 10.
They're at home.
They're at home.
I'm going to take Missouri to cover. I don't think they'll win, but I think they'll cover.
I like that, and I'm going to say Oklahoma needs to be on upset alert, although I'll take Missouri to lose but cover the points. I think Oklahoma's going to have a little bit of a hangover from the big win in Tuscaloosa.
They didn't play that great. They got 17. They've got a good defense. They got 17 points off turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, Alabama kind of gave that away. They were driving, and it was like an 87-yard return on a pick six.
Yeah.
So
that dude.
They were lucky. They were lucky to win. They're a good team. Oklahoma's a good team, but I don't think they're as good as Alabama. They just won the game.
Yeah. Number 15, Miami at Virginia Tech. Miami favored by 16.5, and it has been a weird year for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, they start out every year. It seems like this.
Yeah.
Mario Cristobal starts off big. You think he's this is going to be their year, and then they just kind of deflate late in the season. What's the spread?
16.5
for Miami.
Yeah, at Virginia Tech.
Why is the spread that big?
Well, Virginia Tech's not that good.
Yeah, but they're not playing well. Miami's not playing well. I always just assume that Vegas knows something, so that's sometimes. So that's the reason I guess I'm going to take Miami.
I'm going to take Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I don't know, but that seems like a lot of points for a team that's not playing well. Against a bad team, though.
In what might be, I think it's one of 2 top 25 matchups next weekend. Like I said, there is not a ton of them. Where'd it go? I just had it. Number 17, USC at number 8, Oregon. The Ducks are favored by 9.5.
I like USC. I think they're a good football team.
I do too. And
we both thought Iowa might win that game.
Yeah.
I thought that was impressive, knowing that they were down 14. They scored 19 straight. They come back and beat Iowa. I think Iowa's a really good football team. I don't think they'll win the game. I think Oregon wins the game, but I think USC covers.
I'm going to go with the upset. I think they go into Eugene and they
win the game.
They win the game. I think they pull the upset. Autzen Stadium is going to be rocking, but I think the Trojans come out with an upset win. Let's go Arkansas at number 10, Texas. Longhorns favored by 10.5.
I like Texas. I still think if they win that final game against Texas A&M, I thought it was this weekend. It's next weekend. They play Texas A&M. I think they win that game. They win it handily. They cover against Arkansas.
Okay. I'm going to go one that's just kind of an oddball one because I like the point spread being that close. You know what? Skip it. We were into that last minute. Nebraska at Penn State. Currently, Nittany Lions favored by 9.5.
I think Nebraska covers that. I know you're going to pick Penn State to cover. And their rush game definitely concerns me. They ran it for 240 this past weekend.
I'm gonna actually pick Nebraska to win this. Take it on the money line. I have a feeling about TJ Lateef and Emmett Johnson, and I think Ja'Cory Barney is going to have a game.
I don't think Nebraska wins. I like Penn State to win the game, but I like Nebraska to cover that. So there you go.
Awesome.
All right. Fun show. Appreciate our guests joining us, Jack Mitchell, Tonia Tauke Dorn, and Andy Markowski. We'll talk to you next week, hopefully after Nebraska win over Penn State. Mike Melvin, Tom Stevens. We'll see you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.